Thank you. Please a round of applause to the choir. Round of applause for the choir. They've been so great this afternoon. Good afternoon to you, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Prince Kwame Minka, host of the morning show on Power 97.9 and TVXYZ in Accra. I'll be your master of ceremony for this great event. The JEM Mills Heritage 10th Anniversary Commemorative Lecture. It's live on TV3. It's also live on TVXYZ in Accra. Also live on Power 97.9 FM in Accra. Also live on Ultimate 106.9 in Kumasi. We're also live on a number of radio stations across the length and breadth of the country. We're also live on the various social media platforms. Specifically, it's Facebook. We're live on the NDC Communication Bureau platform. If you're glad to be here and to be part of history, please give yourselves a round of applause. And as we do in this part of the world and everywhere across the length and breadth of the world, in all things, we begin with the Almighty God. So we're going to start with an opening prayer, and I would like to welcome, as you also give him reverence, with a round of applause, Reverend Professor Samuel Edujemfi. Round of applause. Please continue to give him a round of applause. And I want to say, I'm seeing him for the first time. We've been talking on phone, on radio. Good to see you, Prof.
Please, let's be upstanding. Shall we pray? Our Heavenly Father, if I may, we have gathered here for the sake of John Evans Atta Mills, His Excellency, his memorial lecture. I pray that you shall bless this day and moment and make it a momental and one in our hearts and minds. May we leave this space being challenged not just to be hearers but doers of the little good deeds that can make Ghana and the continent of Africa great. Father, may our conscience as intellectuals and as a civil community be pricked even as the Shekinah glory envelopes the keynote speaker to deliver with no equivocations. Abba, continue to fashion us into a unified body as we focus on listening to do even from here. We thank you, even in the name of the risen Lord, have we prayed. Amen. May we resume our seats.
Let's resume our seats. Thank you very much, Reverend Professor Samuel Edujemfi, for ushering the Almighty God to supervise and oversee this august occasion. We're now going to move into a welcome address. And of course, we are so privileged and humbled to be hosted right here in the heart of Ghana at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. And without much ado, please, with a standing ovation, because they are hosting us, let us please welcome Professor Rita Dixon. She is the Vice Chancellor of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Please, with a standing ovation as we welcome her. Let's welcome Prof. Continue to clap till she gets here.
Please take your seats. Your Excellency, the former President of the Republic of Ghana, Mr. John Dramani Mahama, Nana Chairman and representative of His Royal Majesty Otumfuo Osei Tutu II, the Ashanti and Chancellor of this great and noble university, Nana Mensa Bonsu II, the Sechihine, who also is a professor in this great university. Your Excellencies, former ambassadors and high commissioners, Chairman Professor J.E.A. Mills Memorial Heritage, Honorable Alex Sebethia, Ashanti Regional Minister, Honorable former Ministers of State, Members of Parliament, herein present, distinguished guest speaker, Professor P.L.O. Lumumba, and we are aware that he is accompanied by Mrs. Lumumba. Distinguished co-speakers, the family of His Excellency, our former President, Pro-Vice Chancellor of the University, Registrar, Finance Officer, Provost, Deans and Directors, Heads of Departments, the clergy, Nananum, national and regional representatives of the NDC party, academics and scientists of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology fraternity and beyond, all staff and students, our friends from the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you all. I said good afternoon to you all. Thank you very much. On behalf of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, I have the singular honor to welcome you all to the Professor John Evans Atta Mills Commemorative Lecture, which provides us a unique platform to celebrate and commemorate the legacy of a true son of Ghana. As a university, we are indeed grateful to the leadership of the NDC party and the organizers for choosing KNUST the #1 destination for quality education globally. Thank you. SDG 4, per the recently released Times Higher Education Impact Ranking 2023, for such an important lecture to honor the memories of our former president. As we may all know, to keep his legacy alive, the Prof J.A. Mills Memorial Heritage is organizing this lecture, among others, to promote our former president's unique view and contribution towards strengthening democratic values and human development in Ghana. Considering the impact this humble man left on us as Ghanaians, it is only fit and proper that we continue to reflect on his unique style of leadership as a means of keeping his memory alive and offer future generations an opportunity to think deeply about his public service. This great son of the land, whom we celebrate and honor today, was a distinguished academician who contributed immensely to the field of tax law and reforms. Key among his contributions by way of research and policy was his doctoral work at the Faculty of Law, University of London, on the principles of Ghana income tax law and economic development, some basic issues and problems. Indeed, in keeping it very, very, very brief, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me say that Professor John Evans Atta Mills loved and served his country. 10 years on, we continue to reflect on the many achievements of our former president, the Asumdriehene, his humility, love for his nation, and selflessness fostered a sense of unity, and he championed values that sought to bind us together as Ghanaians. His death, indeed, brought a lot of dark clouds to the whole nation, as we were all gripped with sorrow, deep sorrow, irrespective of our differing backgrounds. The man, touted mostly as a Sumdwehene, had an unwavering commitment to the principles of justice, unity, and progress, which principles continue to inspire many. Prof. Mills's commitment to democracy, economic development, social re-engineering, integrity, and peace remain in our memories as Ghanaians up to today. His contributions to Ghanaian politics and governance continue to be recognized and remembered by many as significant steps towards progress and development. As we commemorate his person and legacy through this public lecture on the theme, the man John Evans Atta Mills, 10 years on, let us also draw inspiration from his journey. As an accomplished academic of high repute, as he lived his life, let his entire life and style of public service mentor us as Ghanaians. Let us be continuously reminded of our former president's compassion, patriotism, and love for peace and unity. By and large, this important lecture should remind and urge all of us to come together as Ghanaians, shun our political differences, and work towards a better tomorrow for our dear nation. Let us also acknowledge the importance of public service and civic duty by putting our shoulders to the wheel to continue to work hard to make our nation great and strong. Once again, a very warm welcome and a kwaba to every one of you to this important lecture where we celebrate the legacy of our former president, Professor John Evans Atta Mills. Thank you all very much, and God bless us all.
Thank you very much, Prof, for that wonderful address, and of course, welcoming us to a wonderful institution, wonderful university, the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Now, since we are in the Ashanti region, we are also happy to be here, and of course, present here with us is the Ashanti Regional Minister. And let's welcome him with a round of applause as he joins us to welcome us, Honorable Simon Osei Mensah, the Ashanti Regional Minister, to give us a wonderful akwaba.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. MC. Your Excellency, the former President of the Republic of Ghana, and my former colleague in Parliament, Nana Chair, Professor Lumumba, you are welcome to Ghana, and specifically also to the Ashanti region. The national executives of the National Democratic Congress, the Vice Chancellor of the great university, my good friend, Bernard Mona, ladies and gentlemen, I beg to stand on the protocols already established by the Vice Chancellor. It's an honor and a privilege to be with you this afternoon, to join you in this 10th commemorative lecture of Professor J.E.A. Mills. As he is popularly known as Asumdue, depicts the character of the late former president. His peaceful disposition was darling to all Ghanaians. And actually, he proved it. So it's not surprising that his current resting place is known as Asumdue Park. Ladies and gentlemen, as politicians, we have always to work together, because the development of the country is paramount. We should not wish each other negative or each other to fail. When the economy develops, we all benefit. When we fail, we all fail together, because nobody will be spared. Your Excellency, I've seen my nephew, the regional chairman, doing this. But this is just on the lighter note. I've told him that we have two Bosomtwe people leading the region. So until Bosomtwe dries up completely, it's difficult that you are coming. Actually, the late former president worked with integrity. He was hard work. He embraced all manner of people. Some of my colleagues who were in parliament knew and still may remember the relationship I had with the former president, even though we're not from the same party. And I think that is the way we have to behave. My friend Okuja Abrakwa, when we meet, you think we are brothers. And forgive me that I'm going to bring sad memories. His father, I used to sit with his father, have long talks, discuss several things relating to politics and economy. But he's in a different party, and I'm in a different party. We have to criticize and criticize objectively to put the government on its feet. That is why I said we should not wish any government to fail. Because when we are failing together. When the ship is sinking, we are all sinking together. I know you don't like this statement, but I appreciate it very much. All right. Honorable, Your Excellency, former President, I'll beg you, when it's 2:45, I will leave, but it's not just I'm leaving for leaving sake. I have another program which originally was scheduled for 2 o'clock, but I move it to 3 o'clock. So when it's 2:45, so that I can use the 15 minutes to rush to the place. I wish you all the best, and may the Almighty God give us a successful commemorative lecture. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Ashanti Regional Minister. Let me take advantage and acknowledge some of our high-profile dignitaries at this very important event. And shortly we'll get to know our chairperson, and we are so glad that he accepted to be the chairperson of this event. We'll get to that shortly. But let me remind you that we are live on a number of TV stations across the length and breadth of Ghana. We are live on TV3. We're also live on TVXY at Power FM. We are live on Ultimate 106.9 FM in the Ashanti Regional Capital, Kumasi. Since we are here in the Ashanti region, we are honored and humbled to have representation, very high-profile representation from His Royal Majesty Otumfuo Setu II, the Asante Hene. Nana Professor Mensa Bonsu the second, Otumfo Asachihene, is here with us. A round of applause, please. Nana Bafo Kote Kutin Sraman Bremai Hene, please a round of applause for him. And also Nana Kwame Mensa Otumfo Ahene Nana Hene, please a round of applause for him as well. Yeah, we're happy he's here. If you know, you know. And also with us at this beautiful event, you've already heard her, the Vice Chancellor of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Professor Rita Dixon. And also with us is the 2020 running mate for His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, Professor Nana Chain Opoku Achiman. Round of applause for her. And also with us, I can see from where I stand, the National Chairman of the NDC, Mr. Johnson Asiedu Nketia, whose name these days has become synonymous to and also with us is the former Chief of Staff, Honorable Julius Debra. Round of applause. I'll explain later why I paused. And also, please a round of applause for His Excellency, the former President of the Republic of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama. Also with us, and as we go on, I'll be acknowledging all of you as we go on with the event. Also with us this afternoon is the CEO of the National Democratic Congress, the Chief Scribe, the General Secretary of the NDC, Honorable Fifi Fiavikwete. Let me pause for now, and then as we move on with the event, I would continue to acknowledge all the high-profile dignitaries that are here. At this moment, just as I mentioned, we are so honored to have had His Royal Majesty Otumfo Osei to have accepted to be the chairman or the chairperson of this wonderful occasion. Please a round of applause for Otumfo Osei the second Ashanti name. And he is ably represented by, let me just do this right away. Today, technology can play tricks. Let me do this right away. He's heavily represented here in our midst, and I'm going to mention his name shortly, but let me just do this by acknowledging the fact that we are live on a number of TV stations, including TV3 and also TVXYZ. And we are also live on, of course, Power FM, and as well, we're live on the NDC's National Communication Bureau platform. The Otumfo Osei the second will not be here physically, but in his stead, he's heavily represented by Nana Mensa Bonsu Asachihene, also known in a number of parlance, especially the academic parlance, as Professor Edward Bedu. Please a round of applause for him. And he is our chairperson. Without his acceptance speech, if he decides to say, no, I'm not going to be the chairperson, then the program will come to an end. And that is why at this moment, with all humility, I welcome Nana Mensa Bonsu Asachihene, Professor Edward Bedu. Round of applause.
afternoon. His Excellency, the former President of the Republic of Ghana, my boss, the Vice Chancellor of K University, we can draw from Professor Mills' life and leadership. His legacy serves as a guiding light for present and the future generation of this country, inspiring them to prioritize the well-being of their constituents and work tirelessly for the advancement of this nation. In remembering Prof. Mills, we are reminded of the importance of unity, inclusiveness, collaboration in nation building. He was a unifier who sought to bridge the gap and foster harmony among diverse communities. Let us draw inspiration from his example and work towards building a more cohesive and inclusive society. Moreover, Professor Mills was an advocate for sustainable development and environmental conservation. His emphasis on the responsible use of natural resources and protection of the environment is a critical lesson for all of us in the face of global challenges such as the climate change. Today, as we honor his memory, let us not only celebrate his accomplishments, but also recommit ourselves to the values and principles that was dear to him. Let us strive for a Ghana where justice, equity, and prosperity are the cornerstones of our collective efforts. While we remember Prof. Mills' exemplary presidency and his dedication to democratic values, it is equally important to recognize his significant impact as an academic. Prof. Mills, before assuming office as president, served as a prominent lecturer, shaping the minds of countless students with the wisdom and knowledge. As an academic, Professor Mills demonstrated a deep passion for teaching and nurturing young minds. At the University of Ghana, Legon, Faculty of Law, where he spent nearly 25 years teaching, along with other institutions of higher learning. Throughout his academic career, Professor Mills inspired generations of students with his dedication to research and scholarly pursuits. As we celebrate his legacy at the Evans Atta Mills Memorial Heritage Lecture, let us remember the profound impact he had on education and the lives of those he taught. I would like to extend my heartfelt appreciation to organizers of this event for giving us the opportunity to gather and celebrate the life and legacy of Professor Evans Atta Mills. I also express gratitude to all distinguished speakers and participants who share their insights and reflections on this momentous occasion. May this occasion be a profound reminder of the far-reaching influence of a passionate educator and leader. Let us carry forward his legacy with pride and continue to foster excellence in education just as he did.
Sure.
Thank you, and I wish you an enlightened and memorial experience throughout this lecture. On that note, I accept to chair this occasion. Thank you.
Round of applause for our chairperson, who has gladly accepted to chair this occasion, the JEA Mills Heritage, Memorial Heritage. That's the 10th anniversary, or 10 years on. Please a round of applause for yourself one more time. And indulge me too. Please a round of applause one more time for our distinguished chairman of the occasion. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, let's continue as we acknowledge a few of our dignitaries. It's getting excited, huh? This is pure cultural display. If you're loving it, please a round of applause. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. That's right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, so let me acknowledge some of our dignitaries as we continue with the event. Thank you very much. Thank you. As we are pressed with time, we'd love to see more of you. That's right. See, there's a way, there's a technique to it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Please a round of applause to the future of Ghana. The drummers, thank you. Thank you very much. Madam Asuma. Get out there. Ah. Papa, Janamana Efe. Yes. That's right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Please a round of applause for the future of the country, displaying our rich culture right with us here. Thank you. I continue to acknowledge some of our high-profile guests, and the son of the late President John Evans Atta Mills, Kofi Atta Mills, is here with us. Please a round of applause. Good to see you, Kofi. The Honorable Samuel Atta Mills, brother of the late former President John Evans Atta Mills, and also the Member of Parliament for the good people of Komenda Edna Eguafo Ebrem constituency, is also here. And also Honorable Oliver Kevo, the chairman of the NDC, in the Eastern region, please a round of applause. Honorable Augustus Nanakwesi, the Ashanti Regional Chairman of the NDC. The Honorable Betty Maud Idrisu, former Attorney General, former Minister of Education, and a local organizing committee chairperson of this event. Please a round of applause. And also Honorable Professor Dan Subafo, a former Minister and High Commissioner. Please a round of applause. And a spokesperson for His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, former Deputy Transport Minister, Honorable Joyce Bar Mokhtari, is also here. A round of applause. Without much ado, we move on as our chairperson has accepted to chair this occasion, and it's a privilege to have him chairing it. Without much ado, let's finally come to why we are here. And with a round of applause, let's welcome Honorable Alex Sebefia. He served as Deputy Chief of Staff under His Excellency the late President John Evans Atta Mills, became the Health Minister, and of course, he once served as Deputy Defense Minister as well. Currently, the Board Chairman of the JEA Mills Memorial Heritage. Round of applause as he tells us why we are here.
Nana Chairman, Nana Mensa Bonsu, also known as Professor Edward Bedu, representative of the Ashanti, His Excellency, or His Royal Highness Otumfuo Osei Tutu II, His Excellency, the former President of Ghana and incoming President of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama. I got the name right this time. The Honorable Regional Minister, Honorable Simon Osei Mensah. Members of the JEA Mills Memorial Heritage Advisory Council here present, members of the Board and Planning Committee of the John Evans Atta Mills Memorial Heritage, keynote speaker, Professor P.L.O. Lumumba, accompanied by his wife, our knowledgeable thematic speakers, Honorable Betty Maud Idrisu, and Professor Danso Wafu. Our host, Professor Rita Dixon, Vice Chancellor of the First or Premier University of Ghana, KNUST. Our leadership of the NDC party, my bosses, the Chairman, Honorable Asiedu Nketia, and the Secretary, Honorable Fifi Fiavi Kwiti. The running mate of President Mahama in the 2020 elections, Professor Jane Nana Opoku Archival. Current and past ministers of state, current and past members of parliament, our revered religious leaders, our traditional rulers and chiefs, members of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good day to all of you. It gives me great pleasure to also welcome you to the final thematic lecture to commemorate the 10th anniversary celebrations of the death of our president, leader, husband, father, and friend, His Excellency President John Evans Atta Mills. Our illustrious son, President John Evans Atta Mills, appeared in frontline politics in Ghana as Vice President to His Excellency President Jerry John Rawlings in 1997. With credentials as a renowned lawyer, academic teacher, tax expert, and a keen sportsman, he was known to have a quiet and calm disposition. He succeeded in becoming the President of Ghana in 2009. After 3.5 years, the shortest period of being in office for any president since the inception of the Fourth Republic, President Mills died in office on the 24th of July, 2012. Yet, his legacy lives on. The fear of God, patience, tolerance, sisterly and brotherly love for one another, listening skills and forgiveness are part of just a few of the principles and ideals he represents. The J.E.A. Mills Memorial Heritage was birthed and duly incorporated on the 14th of October 2021 as a company limited by guarantee. It is not-for-profit, it's a not-for-profit, non-partisan, independent, and charitable organization. It exists to promote President John Evans Atta Mills' unique view of society, to cause positive actions in strengthening democratic values and human development. Its vision is to inspire humanity for a better society. After its inception, or its incorporation, the J.A. Mills Memorial Heritage was launched on the 1st of February 2022 at the City Conference Center, University of Ghana, Legon. The J.A. Mills Memorial Heritage has a board of directors which is chaired by Alex Percival Sigbefia, a former Minister of Health. He has a committed team of board members comprising Honorable Sami Atta Mills, Mr. C.C. Kwenu, and Madam Nana Oye Bampo Ado, who is the board secretary and also our CEO. Our final member is the late Honorable Dr. Sherry Aite, whose unfortunate demise last Saturday has left us all devastated. May her gentle soul rest in perfect peace. I will all ask you to indulge me by rising for a minute's silence. May her soul rest in perfect peace. Thank you. The J.E.A. Mills Memorial Heritage is working to inculcate the values and principles that President John Evans Atta Mills stood for into Ghanaian society. The Memorial Heritage Advisory Council is made up of 15 eminent personalities and is chaired by Togbi Apede the 14th, Agbogbomafia of the Asogli State of the Volta region. The Vice Chairperson is Dr. Esther Ofa-Abuaji, former Director of the Institute of Local Government Studies, and the other Advisory Council members are Dr. Kadman Atta Mills, Mr. Kwame Pienim, Honorable Alhaji Mohammed Mumuni, Mr. John Henry Martin Newman, Nana Al-Hassan Andani, E.M. Commodore Mensah, His Excellency James Babaku Mensah, Mr. Kwame Bram Labi, Professor Agnes Atia Apusika, Alhaji Ahmed Vanderboy, Dr. Abna Oye Jambo, Mrs. Kate Kote Papafield, and last but not the least, Mrs. Marafutu Abiola Bawa. As indicated in our press conference on the 16th of May 2022, the John Evans Atta Mills Memorial Heritage has clustered all 16 regions of Ghana into 5 clusters. The first cluster is the northern cluster, comprising the 5 regions, namely Upper East, Upper West, Savannah, Northern and Northeast regions. We successfully held our first lecture for the northern cluster at the UDS in Tamale. The second, comprising the western and central cluster, comprising those 2 regions, was held in Cape Coast. The third was Volta and OT cluster, comprising those 2 regions, as well as the lecture which was held in Ho. The fourth cluster lecture, comprising Bono East, Ahafo, Western North regions, was held on the 1st of July 2023 in Sunyani some weeks ago. Today is the 5th and last lecture to mark the end of the year-long 10th anniversary celebrations, and also doubles as the 11th commemorative lecture of President J.E.A. Mills' passing. Our special guest speaker on this occasion is no meaner person than Professor P.L.O. Lumumba. Professor Lumumba is renowned for his African patriotism and has clearly carved a niche for himself as the conscience of Africa. He is non-apologetic for speaking truth to power at all levels of leadership, and constantly keeps the world and Africa questioning its ideals and motives in enhancing the welfare of its people. A fantastic researcher and historian. The NDC party, in collaboration with the John Evans Atta Mills, commemorated the exact date on which Professor John Evans Atta Mills died, the 24th of July 2023, 3 days ago, with a wreath-laying ceremony at Asumdwe Park, where his remains are interred. It was a well-attended, solemn ceremony, reigniting the depths of loss we have suffered as a nation with the passing of this true patriot. Over the last 10 years, since the demise of Professor Mills, a commemorative lecture has been delivered every year, except for two of these years due to COVID. A compilation of all these lectures have been published as a book titled, It's All About Professor Mills. It's all about Atta Mills. The book will be formally launched today, and the first few copies will be duly auctioned later in the program. At this juncture, let me take the opportunity on behalf of the Board and Planning Committee to thank the local organizing committee, chaired by Honorable Betty Mould Idrisu, for the outstanding effort that has gone into this program at relatively short notice. The love and affection towards Professor John Evans Atta Mills has been tangible in all the regions we have visited, and the Ashanti and Eastern regions have not disappointed in this regard. Thanks to one and all for continuing with us on our journey of ensuring the legacy of this great icon of our land endures forever. God bless you all. Thank you.
Ago. Ago. I'm for it. Ago. The Methodists made a hymn. Now praise we great and famous man, their father's name is story. I greet you. Mechachiamo. Me de tini some nebra monti me chiachiamo. Your Excellency, I greet you. I greet you, honorables. I greet you, royalty. Maswaswa and sensema swaswa ma triumpo aswaswa. Me call kaswa. Me will say, Nioma bia kaswa. Na me hu se obi kenyansasem na me se nyansasem kwa de kwadwo me de madwen beswa yemfra me kwadwo baso a so me ti so obi kenyansasem a kwadwo beswa maso aso ansensem aso ma they say French ni hu ehu me na ochia me bonjour a me je so bonsoir. Ago. I always come in Kente, but let me share fugu. Timusa man for be home, if say ayonwa, ayonwa. Then I added taxi, pen and yet taxi driver, Noribe. I'm not a taxi driver, but I'm a writer and a speaker. And a day of reflection, I close my eyes in meditation. Oh, I saw images that flat my eyes up and down like a seesaw. What my eyes saw is an eyesore. I saw the wind made a beautiful music. Oh, what sweet melodic music the wind made for the trees to dance to it. But the louder the voices of the wind, the trees fell on the ground. And so is life. Life makes the music for us, and soon we are buried in the belly of the ground. I saw, at life's shore, may we exhibit the fullness in our heart's store. And at the end, the leg I see, may we leave a legacy. And when our legs end, may the world say that we are legends. Forgive me. Pardon me for talking to you about stories of the future. Let me tell you stories of the past. For the past teaches us to secure the future. On the hills of dreams, dreams fill our will, and it instills attitudes that kills and instills in us skills for us to fulfill our will. And so do great men go through the mill. Need I talk to you about Professor John Evans Atta Mills? Abraham Lincoln once said, and I quote, note to note, "A nation that does not honor its heroes will soon be forgotten." And Winston Churchill said, "A nation that fails to honor its heroes will soon have no heroes to honor." So the ball is in your court. You are the judge. Your honor. I came to honor a man of honor. In the year 1944, July 21st, a great man was born who burst out of the belly of Madame Mercy Dawson Amwa, a son to Mr. John Atta Mills. Ono de e fie nyansa tenene no tinana brabo amwa. He saw the need, a man with vision on a mission, doing everything possible to help his nation. For his knowledge in tax, it gave him a task, becoming the commissioner of the Internal Revenue Services, offering to the nation his services. You say, your food yapa and a piano. So when our late president, His Excellency John Rawlings, wanted someone to help advise with the economy, he made him his vice. And soon, election came, becoming the flag bearer of NDC. And step after step, time after time, his time came, becoming the president of Ghana. So His Excellency, we came to salute his presidency. The man from a Kumfi Otiam, Fifi Ofri Kumfi, no di nyansa hohro ne kasa ho ama ne kasa fi, ti no nka kasa fi. His speeches were filled with wisdom. Oh, you never get bored because his speeches were filled with humor. All he sought for was Ghana to have economic freedom. A man with a vision on a mission, serving his nation. We remember him his discipline. Yet, he wasn't a bully, but humble fully. He was able, incorruptible, reliable. We came, our hearts filled with a song. And we come to say, Ayiko Moniyo. Edamasi.
Ayiko, Ayiko, Ayiko.
Ayiko. Round of applause. Round of applause. Wonderful poetry. Wonderfully woven. I continue to acknowledge more of our dignitaries. Honorable Abraham Kwame Yantwi, the MC for Ofoekrom Municipality. Please a round of applause. And also the Pro VCs, the provosts, faculty members, and students of the great Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. I also acknowledge Honorable Barbara Sewa Samoa, the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, former ministers of state present, please we acknowledge you, the Deputy Women Organizers of the NDC, Madam Chifa Tega, and also Madam Abigail Ella Mensah. A round of applause for them. And also the Deputy Communications Officer of the NDC, Godwin Akogan, please a round of applause for him as well. And former ministers of state, the Venerable Mr. Totobi Kwachi, please a round of applause for him. Professor Kwamena Ahoy, Mr. Kwesi Ahoy, Mr. Kwame Pepra, please a round of applause for them as well. And also the Member of Parliament for North Tongue constituency, who's been doing a lot of great work these days. And his name is synonymous to, you know, where the private jets are landing and all that. And recently another one, as to which name we should call him. Honorable Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa, please a round of applause for him. And also the Member of Parliament for the good people of Ododo constituency, Honorable Neelante Van der Poy. Round of applause for him as well. Now, with the first course served, we are about moving into the main meal. How many of you are hungry for knowledge this afternoon? I'm sure you're hungry for knowledge this afternoon. Without much ado, we welcome our very first speaker, the former Attorney General, Minister of Justice, former Education Minister, and also the chairperson of the LOC, the Honorable Mrs. Betty Maud Idrisu.
Nana, Professor Chairman, Your Excellency, John Dramani Mahama, former President, incoming President of Ghana, Professor P.L.O. Lumumba, our keynote speaker, and his wife, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, our NDC running mate for the 2020 general elections, Professor Rita Akosua-Dixon, the Vice Chancellor of this great #1 university. My own general, the indefatigable leader of the NDC, and the General Secretary of the NDC, our own chairman, Nana Kwesi, Ashanti Regional Chairman, Kevo, Eastern Regional Chairman, my own executives who are here with me, members of the Planning Committee, Honorable Alex Egbefia, Chairman of the JEL A.E. Mills Memorial Heritage, many former dignitaries, ministers, MPs, colleagues, comrades, religious leaders, Nananom, ladies and gentlemen, students. On Wednesday, 24th July 2012, a seminal day in our lives. Professor John Evans Atta Mills was called home, an illustrious son, you have heard, an academic par excellence, a lawyer of great repute, a sports enthusiast, and a sitting president of the Republic of Ghana, we have gathered here today, Nana Professor Chairman, to hold the final in a series of lectures to commemorate his 10th anniversary, also marking the beginning of the celebration of his 11th anniversary. I worked closely with the late Professor Mills. I, in particular, am not surprised that 11 years of his passing still feels like yesterday, flowing from the personality of Professor Mills, humble, principled, firm, loving, inspiring, disciplinarian, punctual, modest. The modesty was awesome. Rare qualities in a president and in a statesman whose very life symbolized sacrifice and altruism, always concerned about the welfare of his people, most often to the neglect of his comforts. Difficult to follow that act, difficult to follow that leadership style. But we, and I count myself being the older generation, must now try to immortalize this characteristic of Professor Mills. Professor Nana Chairman, I am one of many women Professor Mills entrusted with high office in his government as the first female Attorney General and Minister for Justice. It is important that we mention at that time that we had a woman as the Speaker of Parliament, Right Honorable Justice Joyce Bamford Addo. We had a Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana as a woman. We had the chairperson of the National NCCE as a woman. We had the Commissioner for Human Rights and Administrative Justice as a woman. Many, many others were women in and under Professor Mills' government. He exceptionally cared. This is our father for all, and yet I am proud to stand here and say that he cared about us women, and he cared about our growth as women. I'm honored, therefore, to speak at this anniversary commemorative lecture as his protege and his former appointee. We now have also a distinguished female Vice Chancellor, Professor Rita Akosua-Dixon. And I'm certain if Professor Mills were here, he would have been delighted, Madam, to have seen you here. Allow me a minute, Nana Chair, 2 minutes, I'm going to give a very deep personal reflection of the impact that Professor John Evans Atta Mills had on my own life. I'm not extolling my virtues. I'm talking about the man who he was. And that contributed towards me becoming Ghana's first female Attorney General and Minister of Justice. I first met Professor Mills at the Law Faculty in 1973. Students, 1973. He was together with Professor Akila Kwasoya, the late Dr. Kwesi Botre, Justice Samuel Deteba, Justice Albert Fiajo, Mr. Chachu Chikata, Professor Kuya Kwehenya, amongst a host of, at that time, almost revolutionary academics at the University of Ghana's Law School. The golden age of law in the history of the University of Ghana. And Professor Mills took me under his wing even that. That led to the relationship, which led to Ghana becoming one of the first countries to practice and to advance intellectual property law. I was one of the first Africans under his guidance to specialize in intellectual property rights, appointed Ghana's copyright administrator while Professor Mills was the VAT commissioner. We jointly implemented the then revolutionary authentication stamps, which netted huge huge revenues for both government and those in the music industry. When I was because of him and the others who inspired academia, they told me you have to give back what you have learned. I personally established and taught intellectual property law in the Faculty of Ghana for a decade from 1990 to 2000. When I was Director of Legal at the Commonwealth Secretary, Professor Mills took my hand. We invited him several lectures abroad. He kept assuring me of our victory in 2008, fully committed. I was fully committed to his leadership. In 2008, and I know our former president, John Mahama, knows that, I made not less than 14 trips from London to Accra or to Kumasi for the campaign. He gave me the honor then of appointing me as Ghana's first female Attorney General. He reaffirmed the belief in women that yes, we can, and appointed me again as Minister of Education. Through one of the most trying times in any politician's political career, even when he was gravely ill, 2 weeks before he died, he called me, sent for me, mentored me, gave me the courage to continue. Look at me now, Prof. How do I ever thank you except through these few words? Nana, Professor Chairman, Ashanti region did not necessarily develop because just of our natural resources. Leadership, female leadership, is the key to the development in the nations. We need to look at emulating Professor Mills's example and celebrating and engendering the growth of females, especially from Ashanti region, which, as I was telling Professor Lumumba, is one of the few in Africa practicing the matrilineal system of inheritance and recognizing and lauding the role of queen mothers in our communities. We are grateful to Professor Mills for promoting inclusive politics, giving fair and equitable opportunities to all. Nana Chairman, and let me end by saying that this event, all the other commemorative events, activities, which the Heritage Foundation has been able to put on over the last decade, has really enabled us to show the younger generation that you should emulate. There is heroism in politics. And this man, Professor Mills, his labor engendered growth and development. And Professor Mills indeed truly needs to be celebrated today and all days in our Ashanti region, in the rest of Ghana, and in Africa. God bless Ghana. Thank you.
Yehia in Kabom, it's him na account, young Funko baby.
Vice President-elect, members of the Council of State, colleagues, it is indeed an honor for me to find myself at this historic meeting. And this meeting is coming on at a time when the people of this country are beginning to appreciate the need for us to forge a strong partnership and develop to the best extent possible the bipartisan spirit that we have in this country. We on our part wish you well. We on our part are ever prepared to assist you in governance. We on our part are prepared to put our experience at your disposal. And we all pray that the good Lord himself will help you in this task of nation building. Once again, congratulations to you, and congratulations to everyone.
Thank you. Mr. J. Kufuor, the President-elect, let me take this opportunity on behalf of my colleagues and the nation to congratulate you, members of your team, for the victory to form the new government that would lead us into the next 4 years. Should it turn out well, there's no doubt in my mind that Ghanaians will have another period of 4 years. That, I'd like to welcome you to this castle and the problems that comes with this castle. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Vice President, distinguished ministers of state, council of state members, my colleagues, I must start off with a big thank you to His Excellency the President for this message of goodwill you have just imparted. And I'm impressed. And it's right that it should be. The framers of our national constitution, in their wisdom, provided for multi-party democracy. And when you look around the world, you observe those countries that are making headway with this system of government. You see that perhaps the greatest virtue of the system is bipartisanship in the national interest. So when moments of change of governance come, it becomes a spiritual affair. It's a spiritual changing of the pattern, national state pattern. And as I sit by you today, I believe there's something happening. In addition to the physical sitting together with you, there must be a spiritual communication between the two of us, in which the pattern of states, figuratively, is moving from to me, so that the ship of states continues on an even keel in the interest of all the peoples of their life. So,
in Kabum, it's in our account.
Your Excellency, the President-elect, Your Excellency, the Vice President-elect, members of the Council of State, colleagues, it is indeed an honor for me to...
in Kabum, it's in our account. Young Funko baby.
Late former President John Evans Atta Mills. Well, we've seen it, we've heard it, and I'm sure most of you sitting here were recounting that very moment where there was according to former President John Kufuor, there was a spiritual transition. And I'm sure many of us are yearning for that spiritual transition as we move on in this country, the Republic of Ghana. Please, a round of applause for yourself. And of course, the reason I keep saying a round of applause for yourself is because this day is historic and you are a part of history that is being written. And the reason I recounted or recalled or tried to draw your attention to that very moment, there was that transition in the year 2000, and trying to remind you of what former President John Agyekum Kufuor said, is simply because we have come to the crossroads, and I know a number of you are yearning for a spiritual healing of this country. The nation is bleeding, spiritually and physically, and it will take such unity, such oneness to be able to move and forge ahead and build a prosperous Ghana. If you're happy to be here, a round of applause for yourself one more time. Let me acknowledge the NDC Pro Forum. They're also here. All of you here, we are glad that you're here. Thank you for coming. And also the Zongo Chiefs are fully represented and led by Alhaji Abdul Hamid Madugu and also Alhaji Abdul Nasir. Please, a round of applause for them. The regional imams are led by Sheikh Mohammed Abdul Wahab and also Sheikh Isa Mariga. A round of applause for them. Now, we're moving on and we're getting closer and closer for the moment that we've all been waiting for. But before then, let's bring in our second speaker. He was Ghana's High Commissioner to the United Kingdom and a Minister of State. Let's welcome Professor Kweku Danso Boafo. Round of applause.
Which of the mics is working? Let me see. Is this the top one? Which? It's good to be able to remove this. Nana Chairman, Excellency, former President, and as we know, and no doubt about it, the incoming President of the Republic of Ghana. If you permit me, may I also follow the protocols established by the Vice Chancellor, followed by my dear sister and comrade, Mrs. Betty Mould Idrisu. I am going to speak and share a few personal experiences with you to demonstrate to you the kind of person Professor Mills was. Some individuals might be thinking that perhaps Professor Mills was who he became as a result of politics. No. Those of us who knew him at the University of Ghana, not as students, but as his colleagues, there are major impressions Professor Mills left on us. We have not documented them, we have not been talking about them, but they are real. If you remember, on the 18th anniversary of June 4th, the celebrations were held at Swedru, and that was 7th of June 1998. And President Rawlings made the famous Swedru Declaration. All of you will remember, and those of you who are too young to remember, please find time to read about these things. They are terribly important. There were lots and lots of criticisms of the so-called Swedru Declaration, not because President Rawlings did not have the right to say the kinds of things he said. And I don't want my good comrade Pamina and Martin Amidu to debate as to what was said and what wasn't said and what he meant and what he didn't mean. Most of the questions revolved around the personality of Professor Mills, whether or not he had what it took to hold the fort after President Rawlings. Coming after such a charismatic, amazing leader, of course, questions would be raised because a lot of our folks did not know President Mills. A lot of us did not even understand what he meant, where he came from. All they saw was the vice president being anointed to take over from President Rawlings. You would also remember that the 1998 Congress of the National Democratic Congress, the 4th Annual Congress, took place in Sekondi. And several of our older comrades were there. When President Rawlings arrived at the scene, I was then ambassador to Cuba. He looked around and immediately said, "You, ambassador to Cuba, you have to speak." And I said to myself, what am I supposed to speak about? I know nothing about what he was thinking. We had not thought about it. We had not planned it. What was I supposed to say? So when I got up, I looked around, I saw Professor Mills. I was very much aware of the kinds of criticisms that had been leveled against his own political leadership and his capability and abilities to lead the National Democratic Congress as we moved into the 2000 elections. So when I got up, thinking of what to say and what not to say, something occurred to me that here is a good man, one of the best politicians anybody could find anywhere. Yet little was known about him at that particular time. Remember, we are talking about 1998, the 4th Annual Congress of the National Democratic Congress, from 10th to the 12th of December. So as I walked towards the podium, I said to myself, there is something about Professor Mills that I know that the rest of the people they didn't know, and I needed to share. So I got up and said to the audience that I met Professor Mills for the very first time in 1982. And Tibet is not too far from the dates you mentioned, 1982. I was a young lecturer at the University of Ghana. And you know, after earning a PhD, you think you know everything in the world. You become a lecturer, you can walk across campus disrespecting whoever you want to disrespect because nobody is better than you. I had a friend at the time who wanted me to teach him how to drive. And I'm sure some of the older folks who were present at the 1998 Congress remember this story because that was the very first time I was telling the story. So my friend and I agreed that we would use the university football park, the Legon Park, which is not too far from the University Guest Center, which is popularly known as Ford Foundation. My residence was at Ford Foundation. As a young lecturer, you come in, you wait a little bit before you get permanent accommodation. All the time you're housed at Ford Foundation. It's just about 30 yards from the football field. So my friend and I got into my car. We drove right onto the football field, teaching him, showing him where the gears are, how to start the car and whatever. We moved just about 10 yards, and there comes Professor Mills. We thought he was even going to congratulate us on what we were doing. He stopped us and said, "What do you people think we are doing? You are destroying public property. Do you know how long it's taken us to grow this grass? Do you know how much it's cost us? We could have bought books, and here you are destroying it." I said, "Prof, the grass will grow when it rains." He said, "What are you talking about? We've had drought for all these months, so please leave." Well, we hesitated a bit. We left. We went into the Ford Foundation, my place, thinking that he was gone. So we came around, looked to the right toward the Archival Road. We saw his car make a turn around the Yido to Lower Hill, his residence. Hallelujah, amen. Professor Mills is gone. So we came back, we returned. We did not even make a round. Professor Mills reappeared. I said, you don't listen. Don't you know how much we need this football field? And don't you appreciate the efforts we are making to grow the grass? We looked at him. Said, "Please leave." So we hesitated a bit and left. It was a Monday. We left. We calculated that the time we met Professor Mills, he might have been free. But in the morning, the chances are he will be in the classroom. So Tuesday morning, we returned. We managed to make half a round. There comes Professor Mills again. And he starts his lectures. We need to protect public property. We spend so much. This is useless money we're going to be wasting growing the grass. But he went on and on and on and on. And my friend said, Kweku, Yanko, let's go. Let's go. So we left. That was a Tuesday. So maybe Professor Mills may have lectures the next day. He may not be free to be chasing us around. So Wednesday, we returned in the afternoon. There comes Professor Mills. On Wednesday, third day, he spoke. He said all the things. He said, Prof, okay, thank you so much. We left. And we never returned to that field. From that day, anytime I personally saw anybody making any attempt to cross over to that football field, I went and spoke to the individual. That was the type of person he was. Here is a lecturer, he has the classes. What business of his to be monitoring what happens on the football field? But because we were wasting public property, whose funding could have been diverted into something else, he wanted to protect it. And as a politician, he continued, and I see, I don't know if Dr. Christian Mwakunema we were sitting together, yes, we were sitting together that day in second D when President Rawlings asked me to speak. So after the speech at this Congress, normally you go around, people shake your hand, very good speech, blah, blah, blah. He was sitting, his wife, President Rawlings, Mrs. Rawlings. So I went there. Everybody was congratulating me for saying the kinds of things I did. Professor Mills said, once the son cried, you haven't changed. Why would you say such a thing in public? This was a private encounter between us. I said, Prof, you see the flag you've been getting as a result of the Swedrow Declaration? Not because you are not a member of the NDC, because people don't know you. They don't know your perseverance. They don't know your humility. They don't know your attitude towards national property. They don't know your commitment to this nation. They don't know what you stand for. So I wanted people to know and understand who you are as an individual. So he said, okay. So in the evening we spoke. And he went back and said, I don't care what people were thinking. You had no business bringing this matter into the public domain. I said, Prof, let me assure you, I'm sure I've changed a few minds about you. And whatever I said that day, I meant it. But I didn't know him that much. I had seen him on campus. And at UTAG at the time, I was secretary of UTAG, and I was also in charge of distributing essential commodities. Remember those days where you had to go to Food Distribution Corporation to collect a few bottles of oil, milk? Some of you can't even envisage what I'm talking about. Go to Food Distribution Corporation, line up, queue for rice. At times you spend the whole day. So I had seen him a few times. But I never thought that public property in the form of a university park would be so much important to him that he would chase us for 3 consecutive days. So I admire him. Then, as vice president, President Rawlings sent him to Washington. And President Rawlings called me and said, I've sent Professor Mills to Washington, you need to meet him. So I flew all the way from Atlanta to Washington. When I got to his hotel, I realized that he had the door open and was staring in the doorway as to who this person President Rawlings had asked him to meet was. So when he saw me, he said, Ow. President Rawlings, Onyemubia. And I said, oh, Prof, I told you I've changed. So, no, you haven't changed. President Rawlings spoke so highly about you, but I know you haven't changed. I said, but let's call President Rawlings. So he called President Rawlings, and President Rawlings, I don't know what they said, but everything started moving in the right direction. But the point I'm making is, here is a man who has earned a PhD at a very young age. He had a well going for him. He had attended the best institutions, LSE, he had done Fulbright, Stanford, and whatever, teaching in the prestigious law faculty. Why would he be interested in what happens on the football field? I knew that he was a member of the Veterans Hockey Club and whatever. But why spend so much time? Looking, he lived in Lower Hill, so he had to drive right by the football field. But why would he stop, come to the football field to chastise his colleague lecturers, even though we're much junior? Why would a person, why would he do that? And it wasn't that the football field was hidden somewhere. The football field is open. Several lecturers, I'm sure provosts and maybe the vice chancellor might even have driven by. But nobody bothered to say anything to us. So we did not see anything wrong with what we were doing. But Professor Mills said, until he passed on, we remembered the story and we guarded ourselves with it. As previous speakers have spoken, and since these lectures started, several individuals, Dr. Kayode Payemi, our brother Ibn Chambers, our brother Chachu Chikata, a whole bunch of individuals have spoken at these lectures. They've all testified to the character of President Mills. That you see, he loved us, and therefore we need to cherish him. It is said that when an individual loves and lives in us, that individual never dies. And therefore, as we remember Professor Mills, let us remember that there is something he would have liked us to do as he did in 2008. And that is, let's get united with all humility, boldness, and the perseverance as he chased us on the football field, and work towards victory 2025. Thank you so much, and may the good Lord bless all of you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Dance Focus Theatre, for this wonderful display. Thank you very much. Please, a round of applause for Dance Focus Theatre. Right, without much ado, let me acknowledge more of our dignitaries here and present. And I would like to acknowledge the Council of Chiefs from the, that's the Ever Council of Chiefs within the Ashanti and Bono Ahafo regions, led by President Togbi Mawafe Fuga. Please, a round of applause for him as well. And also here in present is Alhaji Ibrahim, as the Wangara Chief of Kumasi and former President of the Council of Zongo Chiefs. Round of applause. Now, to the moment we've all been waiting for. The moment we've all been waiting for. I guess you didn't hear it. Are you ready? This is it. History unfolding right here in the Republic of Ghana, in the Ashanti regional capital, Kumasi, at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. It's a pleasure to introduce Honorable Nana Oye Bampo Addo, the CEO and Secretary of the JEA Mills Memorial Heritage, to introduce our guest speaker.
Thank you very much. Nana Professor Chair, the Vice Chancellor of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the incoming President of the Republic of Ghana, 7 January 2025, the National Chairman of the NDC, the speakers, I stand on the existing protocol. Professor P.L.O. Lumumba is a professor of public law, a holder of a Doctor of Laws on the Law of the Sea from the University of Ghent, Belgium. He has a Master of Laws degree and Bachelor of Laws degree from the University of Nairobi. Professor P.L.O. Lumumba holds an honorary degree of Doctor of Letters from the University of Cape Coast, Ghana. He is also a holder of the degree of Doctor of Science, the Human Bells University of Technology in Nigeria. He has a chieftaincy title. He is Tango Na, Warrior Chief of Africa, of Sankana traditional area of the Upper West region. He has been trained on human rights at the Institute of Advanced Legal Studies of the University of London, humanitarian law at the Raoul Wallenberg Institute of the University of Lund in Sweden, and on international humanitarian law in Geneva, Switzerland. He is an advocate of the High Courts of Kenya and Tanganyika and a certified mediator. He is a fellow of the Institute of Certified Public Secretaries of Kenya, a fellow of Academy of Sciences, and he is the chairman of Farafina Investment Group in Monrovia and Economic Strategic Growth and Development Initiative for Africa in Nigeria. Professor Lumumba is the immediate former director and chief executive officer of the Kenya School of Law, a former secretary of the Constitution of Kenya Review Commission, and a former director of the defunct Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission. He is a renowned legal practitioner. He has written several books. He has edited several journals, and he co-authored the Constitution of Kenya 2010, an introductory commentary. He has published numerous articles in reference journals and several book chapters. He has been named and recognized by the International Commission of Jurists of Kenya, the Law Society of Kenya, for his exemplary contribution to the legal profession. He was recognized by the Kenya-USA Association for Martin Luther King Jr. and awarded the Leadership Award in 1996. He was also the recipient of the 2008 Martin Luther King Africa Salute to Greatness Award. He was awarded a Lifetime Achievement for Patriotism and Advocacy by the Africa Forum in 2017. He was recognized by the New African magazine as one of the 100 most influential Africans in 2017. In January 2018, he received the following awards and recognition. 1, the Africa Luminary Award by the African Cultural Association in the United States of America. Freedom of the City of Lowell in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in the United States of America. Recognition by the House of Representatives of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for exemplary work in the fight against corruption and bad governance in Africa. Professor P.L.O. Lumumba currently practices law with the Lumumba and Lumumba Advocates and coordinates activities under the aegis of the P.L.O. Lumumba Foundation. We now present Professor P.L.O. Lumumba.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You may resume your seats. Let me start by recognizing the chair of this session, Nana Professor. Permit me also to recognize the Vice Chancellor of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. And permit me to recognize my friend, the former President of the Republic of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama, whom I wish well. And permit me to recognize the students here present and to stand on the protocols that have been established before I rose. Let me say how great I am to be given the honor and privilege to deliver the commemorative lecture of a man whom history already acknowledges as great, His Excellency John Evans Atta Mills, now with the Lord. It gladdens my heart to be present before you because this lecture is being delivered at a time when our continent is at crossroads in many ways. It is being delivered at a time when we as Africans are under an obligation to ask ourselves many uncomfortable questions. It comes at a time when the continent of Africa is beginning to run short of heroes to emulate. It comes at a time when political leadership is synonymous with dishonesty. It comes at a time when this continent can and must rise from the quicksand of dishonesty and blatant thievery in order to rise to the firm ground of hope. And therefore, when we are called upon to commemorate the life and times of President Atta Mills, a number of questions must come to mind. History records and will continue to do so until it is otherwise proven that he was the shortest serving president of the Republic of Ghana. But his footprints in the sands of time tells us that it's not how long you serve that matters, but how well you serve. So the first message that we are sending out today to Africans is that longevity in office in and of itself is not what makes one great, but the quality of service. And I'm speaking at a time when the continent of Africa has no shortage of dinosaurs who have refused to leave the stage. And their refusal to leave the stage has made Africa the poorer. We are celebrating John Evans Atta Mills because he reminds us that it's not how long you serve, but how well you serve. I'm speaking at a time when Africa, indeed many African countries, are infamous because of individuals who occupy public space, and their greatest claim to fame is that they are dishonest, is that they are arrogant, is that they are thieves. And therefore, when we celebrate President John Atta Mills, whom we are told and we are aware was a votary for transparency, we are telling them that it is not how long you serve, it is how well you serve. We are celebrating and commemorating John Atta Mills at a time when the continent of Africa is laboring under the weight of conflict. And if you ever doubted, cast your eye around the continent. Cast your eye to Sudan. Africans are dying in the thousands. Cast your eye to southern Cameroon. People are dying in the thousands. Cast your eye to Somalia. People are dying. Cast your eye to northern Burkina Faso. The continent is not at ease. And we are commemorating Professor John Atta Mills because he was known as the King of Peace. And we are saying that this is the time that we must give practical meaning to what he stood for, in recognition that this continent will realize our potential until we are peaceful. And I'm not talking about the peace of the graveyard. I'm talking about peace that is real, peace that allows us to exploit our potential, peace that allows us to live in dignity. This man that we are commemorating today was a warrior for peace and justice, and he was such a warrior recognized only for slightly over 3.5 years, demonstrating that it's not how long you serve, but how well you serve. And we are here to also remind ourselves, particularly at a time when in the continent of Africa, power is attended by pomp and circumstance. When power in Africa is attended by wastage, where power is attended by razzmatazz, where power is attended by abuse of office, and we are reminded that one of Atta Mills' greatest claim to fame was humility. We are celebrating humility, and from this podium we are telling the arrogant African politician, be not arrogant. Be not arrogant, because the words of the Bible are still true, that if you are arrogant, there shall still appear a fingerless God, and it shall be said, mene, tekel, upersin, that your words and days have been weighed and you've been found wanting. We are reminding them that Atta Mills was the personification of humility, and if Africa is to be great, we must have men and women who are humble, because humility is the mother's milk of servant leadership. We are here to celebrate Atta Mills because he was a Pan-Africanist. He realized, like his predecessors, and it was here in Ghana, not too far from here, in 1957, when another great Ghanaian said that the independence of Ghana meant nothing if the rest of Africa was not independent. That great Ghanaian for whom this university is named was Osagie for Kwame Nkrumah. And we are here at a university that is named for him, and I'm aware, I can remember the speech that that man delivered on the day that this university was established, and it's not lost on me that the man in whose honor we are standing here today and in whose honor we are assembled here today was an academic. I'm not unaware that he was an academic of giant proportion, that he bestrode the academic field like the fabled Colossus, that I in fact did meet him as an academic, and that he distinguished himself as an academic. We are here therefore to send word to Africa that in order for Africa to grow, we must give pride of place to education, because education is what will revolutionize the continent of Africa. It is education that is going to change Africa. If we are going to compete with everybody, if we are going to compete with the Europeans, with the Chinese, with the Koreans and the Indians, we must give meaning to what was initiated by Atta Mills. Let the young men and women who are present here in this assembly know that there is no substitute for education. But what kind of education? Is the education that will make us inventors and innovators. It is the kind of education that is going to make Africa great again. And I can hear through the vicissitudes of time the words in silence of John Evans Atta Mills speaking to you, young man, and telling you, rise up and do what is right and good. Rise up. Don't think that being Ghanaian is great. No, it is not. Don't think that being black is great. No, it is not. What is great is our recognition that Africa is great. And if Africa is to be great, it must be great from Ghana. It must be great from South Africa. It must be great from everywhere. I can hear John Evans Atta Mills speaking to us. But the question is, do you hear John Atta Mills? The question is, even if you hear him, are you hearkening to his voice? The question is, are we assembled here merely because it is an annual jamboree, or we are wedded to the ideals of John Atta Mills? John Atta Mills. I'm speaking to young and old people here in Kumasi. I know not whether they hear me, but I want you to speak and touch their hearts. Touch their hearts with the ideals that you stood for. Touch their hearts with the spirit of compassion. Touch their hearts with the spirit of humility. Touch their hearts with the spirit of vision. Touch their heart with the spirits of equity. Touch their heart that they may know that Ghana can only be great if they are great, and if our young men and women are great. Touch their hearts. We are assembled here to remind ourselves that whatever happens to us, history will record what we do. And I remember as a young student and as a young curious mind, I read about a young Greek lad whom you young men should read about. The lad was called Herostratus. Throughout his life, he did nothing or did very little, but yet he had the desire to be great. So just before he died, he burnt a cathedral that he may be remembered. Indeed, history now remembers Herostratus as the person who burnt a cathedral. There are two ways of getting into history: burning cathedrals or doing the right thing. Choose you now what you want to do. John Evans Atta Mills did not burn any cathedral. John Atta Mills did not steal any money. John Atta Mills did not do anything untoward. John Atta Mills did the right thing. John Atta Mills was compassionate. John Atta Mills served with dedication. John Atta Mills served Ghana. John Atta Mills served Africa. Choose you now. Do you want to burn cathedrals or do good? As for me, I suggest we follow John Evans Atta Mills. And you know, when we speak about great men such as John Evans Atta Mills, we must speak about them in the context of the continent of Africa, because Ghana is not an island. Because Ghana can only be great if the whole continent of Africa is great. Because Ghana is the cradle of liberation for the continent of Africa. And if Ghana gets it right, Africa gets it right. Ghana is the true north of African liberation. Ghana is the political mecca of Africa. And if Ghana is the political mecca of Africa, you must have hygiene in your politics. You must sanitize your politics. And history tells me that during the 3.5 years that John Evans Atta Mills served, your politics knew hygiene. That during that period when he serves, it is meritocracy rather than mediocrity that ruled. And I'm saying, therefore, that as we commemorate the life of John Evans Atta Mills, we must be warriors for meritocracy. For too long, in the continent of Africa, including here in Ghana sometimes, we have allowed men and women who have no credentials to rise to high heights. John Atta Mills is telling us the time to stop is now. For too long, we have had individuals whose only claim to fame is avarice, rise to high height. John Atta Mills is telling us, no, we should not. We have for too long allowed our institutions to be led by men and women who have no business leading domestic and village cattle dips, because even the cows will reject them. So today, we are here to celebrate a great man who served well, a great man who believed that you are not successful until your successor succeeds. A great man who believed that life and political office is a relay race. that you run your leg and hand over the baton to the another generation. A great man who recognized that academic excellence combined with political excellence and agility is indeed the recipe for success. A great man who knew that servant leadership is what his country needs. A great man who knew that simplicity is the highest form of sophistication. A great man who recognized that equity is the greatest form of development, and that is why we hear testimonies where men and women during his term were judged not by the color of their skin or by their gender, but by their character. That is the man that we need now. That is the man of whom I speak now. That is the man whom we are commemorating today. And you know, when you speak about such a man, you don't speak for too long because it is unwise to do so. When you speak of such a man, you only touch that which is important. And when I speak about him, and as I must not speak for too long, I remember as a young student in 1979, I remember reading a book that in some ways spoke about John Evans Atta Mills. That book is a Greek tragedy. That book is Sophocles' Oedipus. And I remember in the very last words of that book, some parts are relevant, but some parts are not relevant. The relevant part that relates to John Atta Mills is what I will refer to when we speak about him. Behold, sons and daughters of Ghana and Africa, there lived John Atta Mills, one of the greatest Ghanaians that Ghana has ever produced. He came and served for a short time. He served in humility, in recognition that success must never be defined by he who is successful, but is defined by those who live long after him. Today, I can make an announcement that indeed John Evans Atta Mills was a successful man. He was a successful man because 10 years after he was gathered to his fathers, we are assembled here, young and old, to commemorate him. He was a successful man because we are gathered here. We are gathered here from traditional chieftaincies, and we are saying he was a great man. We are gathered here from the academia, and we are saying he was a great man. We are gathered here from the political arena, and we are saying he was a great man. We are gathered here from the students who are eager with curiosity, and they are saying, although we did not see him, he was a great man. We are gathered here because I come from Kenya, and I am saying he was a great man. He must have been great indeed. And you know, the only lesson that he now teaches us, particularly to you young men and women, he is telling us, I came, I saw, I played my part. You who are young, you look at the things that I did. Look at the things that others did. Emulate what I did and go out into the world and prove that it can be done, because it must be done, and because if it is not done, Africa will never realize our potential. So I say with you today, John Atta Mills is dead. Long live John Atta Mills. Long live John Atta Mills. God bless you.
You
I cannot hear you sing. Sing if you can. That's right. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Prof. Thank you so much, Professor PLO Lumumba. Just wondering, as far as some of the incidences of history that can be recorded are concerned, can we, Prof, can we please add, digging a hole to construct a cathedral and leaving it open, in addition to what may pass out as records of history, Prof? At this juncture, let me introduce our next speaker. He also has a similar disposition, one that would look in the face of its critics and say, I welcome your criticism. Let's build Ghana together. Ladies and gentlemen, a word to the wise, they say, comes from the, and he is indeed a son of the soil. The next president of the Republic of Ghana, some choose to say the former president of Ghana. Today we say he is the next president of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama.
Thank you. Kindly take your seats. Honorable Vice Chancellor of the best university, SDG 4. Let me congratulate you on that award. But like I told you in your office, I didn't have the privilege of being trained in the best university, but I had the privilege of being trained in the premier university of Ghana. Our chairman, Honorable Johnson Asiedu Nketia, my running mate for the 2020 election and former Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast, and also Minister of Education, Honorable Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, executives and members of the Atta Mills Memorial Heritage, and indeed, as Prof would have said, to cut it short, my brothers and sisters, and everybody qualified as his brother or his sister. So my brothers and sisters, forgive me, let me stand on existing protocol. And thank you very much for this event. Let me thank the organizers first for what has been a year-long journey. I remember when we held the first lecture in the Premier University of Ghana at the University of Ghana, Legon. I had the privilege of being present, and it was there, it was announced that the lecture was going to be taken around the whole country. And it has gone around the whole country. And today marks the climax. I think they reserved the best for last. They reserved the best for Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, which is named after the greatest Ghanaian, the greatest African of the 21st century, if I remember. And that's Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. He was voted the greatest African. And so it's no wonder that an accomplished lecturer like Professor Lumumba was invited to deliver this last lecture. lecture. And I won't attempt to dilute his lecture, and I've learned his wisdom that when you talk about a great man, you don't talk for too long. And so I'm going to take the wisdom from him and just say a few brief things about Professor Mills. Last Monday, we gathered at his gravesite to honor his memory. And all his comrades, friends, family were present to honor his memory on the 11th anniversary of his passing. I remarked that day that the weather appeared the same as the day he died. It was overcast, it was a bit chilly, and the sun refused to show its face virtually the whole day, as if it was reminding us of that fateful day in 2012 when all of us were shocked to hear his passing. For those of us who have worked with him closely, will forever cherish his memory. And that is why we continue to celebrate his life every year, not because we want to worship him, but because his attributes are in such short supply in Ghana today that we need to continue to celebrate him and to repeat his attributes so that those in public leadership, those in leadership today, will learn from the man Atta Mills. Much has been said about him, and so I'm not going to come and repeat them. But we know that today, as Professor Lumumba said, Africa is in crisis. There's conflict across the land. We have the activities of terrorists and insurgents all over. Our countries are in economic crisis, and there is anarchy in many places. But I'll single our own country, Ghana, the black star of Africa, the country in which a lot of people held high hopes in, the country that led the liberation struggle for Africa. And to say that much the same as we see across the continent is happening in our own country. Our economy is in crisis, and there is hardship across the land. Corruption and theft have become the new normal and not the exception. Impunity has enveloped our land, and public officials carry themselves as if they own the country. Ostentation has become the hallmark of people in office, and arrogance has become the prime character of the current leadership. Now, if you look at all that is happening in Ghana today, they were completely contrary to the attributes that Atta Mills espoused. Atta Mills was a man of integrity, and all of us can vouch for his integrity. He was a modest man and didn't need millions of dollars in his house to survive. Atta Mills was humble and respected everybody, from the oldest person to the youngest person. He treated everybody as a human being and treated them with decency and decorum. He was a very practical person, and he was a very transparent person. As one of those who worked very closely with him, I'll share a few anecdotes that will put his persona in greater perspective. We all know he was a man of peace, and his mantra that we all heard all the time was Ameze Mepe Asumdwe. And that is how come he repeated it so often that his opponent thought they were mocking him by calling him Asumdwe Hene. And it actually became the most appropriate title for him. And so in Ghana today, we all call him with pride, the Asumdwe Hene. And that is why the park where he's buried, where we gathered to celebrate him just last Monday, is named the Asumdwe Park, the Park of Peace. President Mills in 2008 when there was a lot of tension in the land in the run-up to the elections, macho men were running riot all over the place and threatening to inflict violence on people just to capture political power. He famously said, "No amount of political power is worth shedding a drop of blood of any single Ghanaian." And so if he was going to bath this country in bloodshed, then he rather didn't want to be president. He didn't want the power. And so he restrained our people from responding with violence on any occasion. And it was the wish of God that he should be president of this country. And so despite all the shenanigans and the conspiracies and attempts to go and dump dead bodies in the Volta Lake to prove that party agents had been lynched and killed in Volta region, despite the Bantama figures and other huge figures that were faxed in again after the counting had been done, despite all that, and despite time, for those of you who remember time, and despite time, God had ordained that he will be president of this country in order that his attributes shall shine forth across the land, and he won the election. Atta Mills believed in state institutions, and he believed in strengthening state institutions. And so he did not interfere in the work of state institutions. He did not weaponize justice. He did not exercise selective justice. Indeed, many of us were impatient with him because of his moniker, Father for All. And so a lot of people in the party were quite impatient with him because he would not do some of the things that they expected he should do. Go after his political opponents on a witch hunt. And so he didn't interfere in the judiciary, he didn't interfere in the legislature. Indeed, he didn't interfere in any state institution. He let them to do their work independently. And that was one of the marks of Atta Mills. Today we miss him because we know justice has been weaponized in this country. Selective justice is ruling across this land. And we hope that this anniversary on which we celebrate him will send a signal to those in office that the judiciary is supposed to be independent and justice must be blind and must not be one that is manipulated for the interest of who are in power. Atta Mills was modest and humble. And one of the first things he did, and I remember as his vice president, we had to attend a banquet at the beginning of the session of every session of Parliament. And at the end of every session of Parliament, we had to attend a banquet on July 1st, Republic Day. We had to attend a banquet on Independence Day. Indeed, there was every reason to attend banquets. And in his usual modest self, he says, how much do all these banquets cost? And why should we hold so many banquets? And so he canceled all the banquets. And so if you remember, for those of you, after Independence Day, we all went home to eat our banku and things. There was no banquet in the evening, no drinking of champagne or anything. July 1st, we only had Senior Citizens Day. That was a day to honor senior citizens. And it was not a banquet, it was a lunch. And so they went and ate different Ghanaian. And he even said the dishes should be Ghanaian dishes. And only water was served. The hardest liquor was a small bottle of mini club beer, you know, that was given to the senior citizens. And so it's only when we had visiting heads of state that he allowed banquets to be held in honor of those visiting heads of states. He abhorred ostentation. And I'll tell this story. There was a minister, all ministers were given Toyota cars, small Toyota cars. And there was a minister in a particular ministry, whose ministry bought for him a department under his ministry, paid for a very high-level car for him, the kind of cars that are used, you know, by heads of state. And Atta Mills got wind of it. And he summoned the minister, and I'll not name names. And he ordered the minister to surrender the car. And he gave the car to state protocol to use it for visiting heads of states and other people who were coming. Atta Mills did not shield or clear anybody who was accused of corruption in his government. If you were accused of corruption, he allowed the law to take its course. He did not attempt to shield you or to clear you. There was one thing he detested, that is undermining your colleague. And I'm sure there are some people here who would remember what I'm talking about. If you went to Atta Mills' office and went and made a report against your colleague or sought to undermine your colleague, he would listen to you quietly, and then afterwards he will make an excuse and ask you to wait for a while. You know, I just have to go and fetch something from the residence and come back. And so when he gets up, you ask his secretary to call the colleague that you are reporting to him. And so when the colleague arrives, Atta Mills will come back to the office and bring your colleague in, and then he'll ask his secretary to bring you. And so when you come in, you see the person you were talking about sitting with him. And then he says, so and so, I won't name names. Repeat what you were telling me about him. And in Ghanaian English, we say, come and see stammering. People who are not stammerers begin to stammer. And he will sit you and you will confront the colleague and say what you said again. And after that, you learn a lesson that Atta Mills is not the type who listens to idle gossip. Atta Mills was very religious, and he had faith in his God. Indeed, he had prayer warriors in the castle praying 24/7 for the nation and for the leadership and for himself. And I remember the current president and his colleagues described him as turning the castle into a prayer camp. And he said, in glory of Jesus, if I had my way, I'll turn the whole of Ghana into a prayer camp. But despite his deep religiosity, he did not ever consider that building a cathedral was the best way to express his faith. And so there's much about the man Atta Mills that we must learn from as a nation. And so on this occasion, I want to thank our speaker for doing justice to the subject that we invited him to speak on, and for celebrating a man whom we all cherish and a man whom we all miss. And as he said, the least we can do is to live up to his attributes. And so I want to thank him very much. My comrade and friend, thank you for honoring our invitation. I'd like to thank the chairman for representing Otulfo Osei Tutu II, and for spending your time here with us, and for all those who came in memory of a great man. I want to thank you very much, and to say, may the memory of Atta Mills live on forever. As it is said, if you live a life worthy of emulation, you never die in the memory of people. And so when they say Atta Mills never dies, or Kwame Nkrumah never dies, it doesn't mean they are mortal persons who will not pass away, but it means that their names will continue to be remembered forever. Thank you very much. God bless you.
J.E.A. Mills Memorial Heritage, and of course the people of Ghana would like to recognize and also celebrate you, Professor PLO Lumumba, as you would kindly join us upstage, and then we can show our appreciation. And this will be done by, of course, Your Excellency John Dramani Mahama, Honorable Betty Maud Idrisu, and Honorable Alex Segbefia. You may want to join us as well. Okay, let me hand over the microphone. So, let's show appreciation. Round of applause. So this is a presentation done by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama on behalf of the people of Ghana, doing this for the J.E.A. Mills Memorial Heritage. Please, a round of applause. Round of applause. Let's keep clapping. Let's celebrate Prof. As this is done, and you're watching history unfold right before your eyes.
On behalf of the John Evans Atta Mills Memorial Heritage, I am pleased to present this Kente Show to Mrs. PLO Lumumba. Is it the better half or the other half? The other half. I'll tell you a joke. We celebrated our 30th anniversary, myself and my wife, Lodina. And we did a photo shoot. Oh, no, that was last year. We did a photo shoot, and we had to change into several clothes. And among the clothes we had to wear, there were 2 T-shirts. And one said the better half, and the other said the other half. And you know what? She had made the other half my T-shirt. So she wore the better half, I wore the other half. That's why I asked you.
Thank
you. Now the more difficult one. Have you worn a Kente cloth before?
But I never quite get it.
Then I'm just like you. They have to use safety pins to hold it when I wear a Kente cloth. But we'll try.
So here we go. Professor PLO Lumumba being adorned the Kente cloth by the President John Dramani Mahama. Round of applause. Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. May you have your seat. Thank you very much. Please a round of applause one more time. Let's show appreciation. Thank you for the sake of time. Thank you very much. At this juncture, it's time for the launch of the John Evans Atta Mills book. And to help us do this, please, with a standing ovation, round of applause, let's welcome the 2020 running mate to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama in the elections, Professor Nana Jane Opoku Agyeman.
Yeah, thank you very much. And Professor Lumumba, I'm happy you found your hand finally. Nana Chairman, please allow me to recognize our former president and the incoming president of the Republic of Ghana. And also, of course, to recognize Rita Dixon, Vice Chancellor. I'm very happy, extremely happy to see you, and everybody who is here. My job has been made so much simpler for all the kind words we have heard today. Sometimes some young people approach some of us and say, I want you to mentor. And those that have had the privilege to engage much longer, I just ask, but you have all the examples before you. And today we have one example, not only for the young persons, but for all of us. And that is why we are here to celebrate him and to put together all the essays that others have written about him, either from the personal perspective or even from professional perspective or from any perspective at all. Because the late President John Evans Atta Mills was a man of many parts. And we are blessed as a country to have him not only as a president, as a teacher, as a philosopher, as a friend, as a family person, but as an example, still worthy of celebration. But aside from all of these, we know that, as I said, many others have trod his path, and now it is our turn. We cannot say we didn't have examples. We cannot say we didn't know what to do. We cannot say nobody came before us. Many, many, many have come before us. And may all of us use the opportunity we have to, at the very least, try to follow his footsteps. We have all the lessons we need, and they are all grounded on the word integrity, from which spring so many other very, very important words. I salute all the writers for crafting their essays, and to the editors, nobody likes the editor, but without the editor, we may not get very good things to read. So we salute the editors. And we salute everybody who has written the words that we can thread into a whole. And all of that translates for me at least the word integrity. Thank you. Indeed, we must find, I propose that we find either a kente or northern woven fabric that we can name for integrity because it matters. And because Professor Mills has set an example for us. Of course, integrity flows the word peace, it flows fairness, devotion to nation. And we know we have had a human being who was overflowing with the milk of human kindness because he respected everybody. And that is the person who will say in our mother tongue, Oye Nyimpa. We have seen many others who are not Nyimpa because they don't respect anybody. They are arrogant, dishonest, short-sighted, vengeful, and spiteful, weak-minded, and who enjoy just treading on others. We are blessed to have such an example. What we do with it is our responsibility. And I think that he was also blessed to have a deputy or his vice president who ensured that his back did not become pasa. JM, thank you for protecting the most valuable of all the inheritances which he has given to all of us forever. His sterling performance, we know from the essays, can be felt in every sector, from the justice system, building all those courts, to the education system, removing schools from under trees, retraining teachers, building universities. He did not focus on just one small link in the long chain of education. He took everything as a holistic whole. And for women, we've heard Honorable Betty talk to us about all the women that were appointed. We thank him for that. But I also want to add those women that we may not have known or that may not have become so visible. Our mothers and sisters in the market. He understood that the market is one of our big offices for women in this country. And we have KJTR in this city. We have Kotokraba in the central region and many, many other places to ensure that women could also do their work in dignity. And again, we want to thank him very, very much for it. You know, as our speaker has said, we don't need to speak for too long on something that is worthy of commemoration. So I'll limit mine and I'll say that Asempayetia, and that a word to the wise is in Asen North. Normally, it is common when people are launching books to say, oh, how very useful it is, you must buy a copy, and they praise the book, which is in order. I cannot do that because I have an essay in the book, and I'm not given to self-flagellation. So all I'll say is that for all of us who have been here, those of us who have listened online, have watched from other sources, if you don't get a copy of this book, which is called It's All About Atta Mills, if you don't get this and read the fine essays in them, mine excluded, if you don't study the essays in them, then what will I say? Therefore, with all respect, in all humility, Mr. Chairman, Your Excellency JDM, I feel humbled to launch the book titled It's All About Atta Mills. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. To help us with the auction and sale of the book is Honorable Nilante Vanderpoy, the Member of Parliament for the Rodiodio constituency. Honorable.
One can a year cry. One can a year, Nana. One can a year cry. If some can a Nilante Banama. After wonderful lecture like this. The highlight being the launching of a book. The only thing I'm here to do is to ask you to give me something to keep the J.E.A. Mills Memorial Heritage going. When I was in Sunyani, somebody did the honor buying the first copy for 50,000. There are more rich men in Kumasi than Sunyani. And looking at the faces here, I know somebody is ready to give me 100,000 for the first copy. I want somebody to give me 100,000 for the first copy. And I'll tell you a story Professor Mills told me. If you give me that, I won't tell anybody, you alone. 100,000. 100,000. 100,000. Please, I know we have former presidential aspirants here, but I'm not going to go to them because I know you are powerful than some of them. Kumase, Regional Chairman Memra na. Regional Chairman Memra, 100,000. Une fro Augustus nana kwesino. Obi enimu Chairman 1. Chairman 1. Ah, munyi mu Chairman ni ana. Chairman say in so family thing. Into 100 no means sending rap or say amount half. Chairman will say 50,000. Chairman will say 50,000. Chairman and I say 50,000. 50,000. Auto first copy 50,000. Chairman. Chairman, we don't make anti-betty the amount. Hey, that be fashion anti-betty is 7 of a man. 50,000. On call for some amount. Chairman, some. Also, but Chairman, bon, some amount. Chairman, J, 50,000. 50,000. Mama Musama Chairman, and Akwesi. Eastern region, any Ashanti in air programming. Eastern, Omo constituency and North to say Ashanti there no. Into him, Kebo himself, the party chairman himself, the general chairman. You know something? I know chairman has a lot of responsibilities, including me. It's Minty. Chairman, my 10,000. 10,000 per chairman. 10,000 chairman. Chairman, I'm almost a chairman. 10,000. 10,000. Chairman general. 10,000. Now the chairman, my 10,000 there. My former boss, former chief of staff. I was his deputy when he was minister for local government. Chairman, mommy 10,000, right? 10,000. Former Eastern Regional Chairman. Former boss of tourism. Former minister for local government. Former chief of staff. And incoming chief of staff. Say, am I lying? Say, we started giving the post. Chief of staff, Simon Fan, 10,000. 10,000. 10,000. 10,000. Oh yeah, dear man, oh name life. Oh, Archival school. When we were in government, there was one gentleman who was a minister. He's from Ashanti region. I said, "I say, oh no, Oma Kania ko ekrebiasi when the constituency is Oman to Amaneda. Ojina MP 3 times Oman to Amano. No money Kania, Omobu Kania, ekurasi bia Kania is Oman to Amano. This time almost on to Amaye Onunti. Dr. TJ, my 10,000. My 10,000. Munimino, Dr. TJ, Dr. Solomon. Dr. Sorry, Professor TJ. Professor TJ. Prof, put my 10,000. Why? My 10,000. Professor J, TJ, my 10,000. Are you sure? This one, I beg you, give the book to former president and incoming president to do this for me. This one is not Popular Liberation Organization or People's Liberation Organization. PLO Lumumba. So it's not yours. Yours is coming. Yours is special. Professor Lumumba says he's giving me 20,000. Nilante. He's giving Nilante 20,000 for the book. Sir, you said this one is not for the heritage, for me. Okay, 20,000. Prof, God bless you. God bless you. Now I have to come down to my boss. My boss, you know me and you. This one, boss. 10,000, 10,000, 10,000. Prof, I beg you do it for me. Your boss says 10,000. President Mahama, he said 10,000. So I want you to give it to me. 10,000. 10,000. Now, my boss' son is here. Professor Mills' son is here. For the sake of the two of them, if you will give me 20,000, I will let them do the presentation to you. Will you get President Mills' son, President John Mahama's son, to do a presentation to you? Mommy, 20,000, no find your amount. Give me 20,000, the two of them will do the presentation to you. Alaji, what's the name? 20,000. Who is giving me 20,000? Sammy? Hey, Sheriff, get up. Sheriff, get up. Kofi, sorry. The two of them are here. Professor Mills and President John Mahama. They are ready to do the presentation if you give me 20,000. 20,000, ma'am, 20,000, they will do it for you. 20,000. Such nice young men. Nice young men. And the young girls, stop looking at them. Kofi is married. As for my son, no, I'm nurturing my daughter for him. Hey, say, one MP at the back. 20,000, yes. Mother, Mama, 20,000. Former regional chairman, Obama, 20,000. 20,000. There be way presidency, man, a presentation, no. And 10,000. Former chairman, I say 10,000. Give it to them to do the presentation. 10,000. Former regional chairman, sorry, I'm on former regional chairman. 10,000. 10,000. Papa, we was Capruta. Asalam then in there, one in Anedia. Asalam down, Accra. Need that can say people as got an home. Nansa in Suto, you know. You see the 48 million as I hear at got an own so a corner. Sana Scanish will be passing. Man can hear. Now, Sammy, why are you laughing? Sammy, 10,000. The caucus. MP's caucus. Please, clap for the MPs here. All the MPs here, get up. All the MPs. I saw Ajemensan. Ajemensan, what question you are? Sorry, no more for who any. All MPs, I'm not part of them. 20,000. All the MPs are minority caucus. 20,000. 20,000. Sammy Atamils, get up. Are you not an MP? Hey, Sammy. Hey. Look at the prof into your MP. The book is getting finished. Should I come down? Great consultant, should I come down? Oh, I've just seen another butler. Yeah. Papa, wait. Oye GFA chairman. Ne brutal. IDK. Adi Pande. No, where am I? 10,000. SAI. Central region. Yes, Otobi was Central region, but Obedo Tobi or Hasso. Fanti Newtown in Sebe Tobi or and what he bought in Central region was a different book. This one is different. Nana, Edward Library. SAI. Hey, Nana Junior. Nana says I shall come to you. 10,000. 5. Nana. He says he's going to give us 10,000 for one. 10,000. 10,000. If I give it to him now, everybody will know who I'm talking about. Do you know, Sharaf? Edda Gona says his own. He wants you to do the presentation. So I've added 1,000 because you are going to do the presentation. So his is 6,000. Sharaf, do that for me. Kofi, you will do the 10,000 for me. Please come. When I point to the person, you go and give it to the person. I don't want me to mention the person's name. Kofi, have it. Do you know the person? The person went to the only school. The only school. But the same school your uncle Sammy went to. You didn't get the privilege to go there. The other school is in Cape Coast. Only school in Ghana. Give it to him. Give it to him. I will see whether you know that school. No. Sammy? Sammy, do this presentation. Tell me, person will be able to. Senior, Sammy has done the presentation. So now add it. You know, senior, if I misbehave, you tell me to stoop. So I won't talk. Now, I have last 5 copies. Last 5 copies. Each person should give me 5,000. 5,000 for one. 5,000 for one. 5,000 for one. Yes. Who? 5,000 for one. 5,000. 5,000. Mr. Kodomosu, should I come? Where is Dr. Son? Oh, I've just seen my friend, my very good friend, former minister Moses Asaga. 5,000, give him one. 5,000, give him one. Oh, give him one. 5,000. Was the minister. Moses, give him one. Look, you can't you have 500 cities under your bed? Somebody has million. Okay, 5. Give it to him. No, give it to him. Hey, wait there. Sir, should I say the other way thing? Mr. NGMV, a friend of yours, a friend of Mr. NGMV. Nobody knows your position. Only Mr. President knows. Should I mention that position? It's honorary position. Okay. It says 10,000. 5,000. Okay, 5,000. Mr. NGMV, 5,000. Ambassador Ina Jekum, you are here. I know I will come to your house to do the thing. So yes. What's that? Oh, former chief of staff, deputy chief of staff. I didn't know you are here. This is KNUST. You are here. I know. Mr. Segovi. Mr. Segovi. 5 and a. Oh, and then 1,000 with the man. 1,000. Because of your service to President Mahama, 1,000, I'll give it to you. Dr. Bidanso. Dr. Bidanso. Where is he? He's here. Professor, he's now professor. Professor Bidanso, where is he? Professor. Former VC, where is he? Oh, why? Hey, Prof, I was in your office the last time. Prof, how? Prof, how much are you giving us, bro? 2,000. Prof says 2,000. Prof, you know the thing about Prof is that he becomes more handsome when he grows old. Thank you very much. My very good friend from the hockey fraternity, Mr. Charles Asari, he said he's watching us live on Facebook. And he sees that I'm struggling to sell. So he's giving us 5,000 for one. Give it to senior old boy to take it to him. He also went to the only school. You know, that school is not like Presec Legon. It's better than Presec Legon. Hey, Apia Stadium says 2,000. Now who can 2,000 here then? Saying. Me come more 2,000. Me come more 2,000. Prof. Pro Forum Ashanti region 2,000. Pro Forum Ashanti region 2,000. Pro Forum Ashanti region 2,000. Alhaji Mubarak. Alhaji Mubarak. I trust you. I know 2,000 is too low for you. 5,000. 5,000. He said I should give it to Mr. Totobiko Achi to present to him. The great conspirator. Where is it? 5,000. The great conspirator. He said he wants you to do representation. Alhaji Mubarak, your own son. Your own son, Mubarak, he's standing behind you. He said he wants you to do representation. Thank you. Don't worry. Yes. Yes. Alhaji Rabo, Alhaji Saya, Alhaji Rabo, he's buying one for 2,000. Inaike, Alhaji Naike, Alhaji Nagode, 2,000. Inzo Kalbi Kudi and Zuno. Inzo Kalbi Kudi. Kogobe. Yo, I want a nice lady to follow him. He said 2,000. No, Mr. Todobiko actually do the presentation for me. 5,000. Give it to him. 5,000. Give it to him. And take it. Alhaji Mubarak. 5,000. No. Ashanti Regional Legal Team of the NDC. I've seen lawyer Ivan Samankwa and all those. This time you have increased the legal fees. So 5,000 is too small for you now. Don't worry. 5,000. 5,000. The legal team Ashanti Region. 5,000. How many copies left? Okay. Can somebody give me 2,000 for this? 2,000. Yes. 2,000. 2,000. 2,000. 2,000. 2,000. Kofi, you are buying one for 2,000. Kofi Atta Mills is buying it 2,000 for our lovely mother and my sweetheart, Dr. Christine Evergreen, unfathomable, Amwakunyama. Ma, I was doing for I. Hey. Another. Yeah. Former mayor, former regional minister, Mr. Sapon, where are you? Mr. Sapon, where are you? Okay, Mr. Sapon says he's giving me 5,000. 5,000. Now, how many copies? Okay, I have only 5 copies left. 1,000 CDs each. 1,000 CDs each. Kofi Atta Mills is buying one for Ambassador Ohini Ajekum. Sir, okay, Shitokoni. Yes, 1,000 CDs. 1,000. 1,000. Somebody has raised his hand over there. 1,000. 1,000. 1,000 CDs. Thank you. Another one here. 1,000. 1,000. 1,000. Evangelist Bra. Bra, unto me. Unto 1,000. 1,000 per. Collection me, baby. 1,000. 1,000. Here, 1,000. 1,000. 1,000. 1,000. Cash, cash. This one, cash and carry. 1,000. 1,000. 1,000. 1,000. 1,000. 1,000. The 10th president of KNUST. 10th president KNUST. 1,000. She's buying one for 1,000. 1,000. The 10th president. Sama, thank you very much. 1,000. 1,000. Another one on Facebook. Chasasari again, another one for 1,000. God bless him. It means we are making waves on Facebook. 1,000. 1,000. Nana. Nano asema okanya cover and into me. Me tobacco chow. 1,000. Nana J. Eya ka no kure na ukan no. Minya yanko bia so beka okumase ya. President Mahama says that we should give it to everybody here, each copy for 200 cedis. 200 cedis. So the ushers are coming around. 200 cedis for a copy. They are coming around. 200 cedis for a copy. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Choir, over to you, choir.
Thank you very much, Honorable Neil and Vanderpoy. And after this, if you want a copy of the book, you can contact the JEM Mills Memorial team, and then you can be able to have a copy of the book. Thank you very much. Let me quickly acknowledge the presence of former Ambassador Nana Ohene Ajekum, former Minister of State, and also Mr. Entry Jemfi, a minister during the Atta Mills regime, and of course a member of the Atta Mills heritage, Mr. Entry Jemfi. Mr. Entry Jemfi, a member of the Atta Mills heritage. I want to acknowledge you.
Please, I didn't say that JM is buying it for everyone for 200. JM says we should reduce it to 200 so that many of you can buy 200. Evangelist Pra, 200.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Shall we be seated, please, because the program is still in session. It's time now for the vote of thanks. Choral team, please. It's time for the vote of thanks. Let me invite Professor Abuaje Da Costa. Prof, please join us as you deliver the vote of thanks. A round of applause for Prof as he delivers the vote of thanks. Professor Abuaje Da Costa. Please be seated, please. Please be seated. Please be seated. Thank you for your cooperation. Please be seated. Thank you.
Nana, Chairman. Vice Chancellor, Professor Mrs. Dixon, Your Excellency, President John Dramani Mahama, the 2020 running mate of the NDC, Professor Jenana Opoku Ajuman, former ministers, all protocol observed. We would like to thank you all for coming, especially Vice Chancellor of KNUST for the time that you had for this program. Your Excellency, we also want to thank you for honoring the invitation to grace this occasion. If this program is successful, then it was planned by a team. And at this juncture, I also want to acknowledge the work of the planning committee led by Mr. Alex Sebefia. Other members of the planning committee include Honorable Nana Oye Bampo Ado, Mr. Kwame Pepra, Professor Kwamina Ahoy, Mr. Totobi Kwache, Ambassador Kwesi Ahoy, Honorable Nilante Vanderpoy, Honorable Samuel Atta Mills, Dr. Eric Osewusu, Mr. Sisi Kweno, Ambassador Silvanus Tamakolo, Madame Emilia Atta, Mr. Ludwig Hloje, Honorable Isaac Ni Jaman, and to the local organizing committee led by our mother. When they say our mother, Ashanti region, she is our mother. Honorable Mrs. Betty Maud Idrisu, and assisted by Mr. Kwame Zu, the former Secretary of NDC in Ashanti region. We want to thank you all for the great work that you have done. We also want to thank the Ashanti regional executives led by Mr. Augustus Andrews, Nana Kwesi, and his team. We also want to thank the Communication Bureau, the NDC National Communication Bureau, for making sure that whatever is happening here is on Facebook and it's also being broadcast along several social media and electronic media platforms. We thank you all. We thank you all. Eastern Region, and then Eastern Region Executives led by Mr. Kevo, and all the team from the Eastern Region who has come here to support this program to make it a success. We want to thank you all. We want to thank especially the national executives. I see national chairman here and then general secretary also here, as well as the former chief of staff. We want to thank all of you for gracing this occasion and making this a grand program here at KNUST. Thank you all, and as you move, we pray that God will lead you to your homes and wherever you're going safely. And at the end of the day, we shall give thanks to the Almighty God for what He has done for us, and also for contributing to or helping us commemorate the memory or the 10th anniversary of Professor J.E.A. Mills. Thank you all.
Thank you. Now we move on to the closing prayer. Let's invite Imam Professor Abdul Rahman Ahmed. A round of applause as he joins us to lead us in the closing prayer. Imam Professor Abdul Rahman Ahmed. Thank you, sir.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن والاه. Oh Allah, we show our gratitude to you for making this program possible and for guiding and guiding us all through the program. We thank you for the life of our guest, Professor P.L.O. Lumumba and his wife, and the life of our Excellency, former President John Dramani Mahama. We thank you for the life of our Vice Chancellor, and we thank you for the life of all the guests that are here. It is our prayer that even as they return to their abodes, you still protect them and guard them. And may the wisdom that has been shared here and the life, virtue, values of the late Professor J.E. Mills brighten our heart and keep us on the path of righteousness, so that we'll be worthy citizens of this country and worthy vicegerents of our Lord. This we ask and we pray for your guidance. Ameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulil karim wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa sallam. Wassalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you so much. Let's do this in an orderly manner.
So all too soon, it has come to an end. Live from the School of Business Auditorium here, the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Of course, the take-home has been very enormous. A man who lived a life full of modesty, a man who was not vindictive, and of course, the former president will take a subtle swipe, and most important, man who gave the keynote address, Professor P.L.O. Lumumba, saying, during the time of the former late president, he ruled with meritocracy But let's see if we can engage the national chairman of the ruling New Patriotic Party, Johnson Asiedu Nkatia. Johnson Asiedu Nkatia will share a word or two with us. So, Chairman, all right, so I think he needs to join the entourage so they can make their way out of the auditorium. But we will certainly engage some of the guests, some former ministers, as far as His Excellency the late President John Evans Atta Mills' administration was concerned. We spoke to them earlier, but we are going to engage them again, especially Kwame Ahoy, Mr. Todobi Kwashe, and Kwame Pepra. They all served under Mills' administration. So, quite revealing, but Mr. Kwame Ahoy, of course, he has, proud to the program, gave us a lot of, revelation, and now we are coming back to him to also share his views. A lot has been said about the former president, and of course, I learned from him for the first time the fact that the former president wasn't vindictive, and he halted every single prosecution, which was of course intended after the exit of the former John Ajekum Kufuor's administration. So, Mr. we have you have, but there's something that is also significant. Unity. Yes, unity is something that done once is okay. All right, but let me go back to Mr. Atta Ahoy, and maybe he would want to talk about the unity in the party, because that one has also been mentioned quite extensively. So, sir, unity is something that has also been, spoken at length as far as party, or maybe your party, is concerned. What is the take home as far as this commemorative lecture is concerned?
I am not Atta Ahoy, I'm Kwesi Ahoy, Ambassador Kwesi Ahoy. I think the gist of this lecture is all about governance, and good governance, right? That's what everybody picked from here. And humility in governance, servant leadership. Those are the themes that run through the whole lectureship. And Ghanaians are being called upon to emulate the legacy of Professor Mills. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Ghanaians are being called upon to emulate the legacy of Professor John Evans Atta Mills. From the School of Business Auditorium, I'm William Evans Sinkum. Back to you, studios.
Let's discover South Africa. Win solid cash every day with Cash Out. Be a proud winner of lots of cash simply by watching or listening to any of Media General stations. That's right, you are being rewarded for your loyalty. Tune in to all Media General brands. TV3, 3FM 92.7, Onia TV, Onia FM 95.1, all in Accra, Akuma FM 87.9 in Kumasi, and Connect FM 97.1 in Takoradi. To enter the Cash Out raffle on your favorite Media General station, just dial *439#. Follow the prompt and pick your favorite platform to enter. Voila! You are now eligible to become one of the 10 lucky winners of a cool cash prize. Remember, this is every day, all day on your favorite Media General station. Cash out and win big! Grand launch is on Friday, 28th July at 4 p.m. This is in partnership with Radio Entertainment Limited. This promo is regulated by the National Lottery Authority on the Caritas Lottery platform. Terms and conditions apply.
The drama and suspense never